Dear participants, for your kind information, uh, the YouTube live streaming is being recorded and the so we would be starting this program. Uh, Before that, I'd like to say that the program was supposed to be inaugurated by a Vice Chancellor, and due to some official work, she couldn't join with us now. And so, to start this program, before starting this program, I request everyone to have a silent prayer for a minute, and then we'll proceed. To all the participants and dignitaries, we are to have a silent prayer for a minute, and then we'll start the program. Thank you, everyone. Greetings from Tamil Nadu Physical Education and Sports University, Chennai, and also from the Department of Sports Management, Sports Psychology, and Sociology. It's a great privilege and honor for the department to organize this live webinar, and consecutively, it's a credit for the department. It's a sixth webinar we had been organizing, and the support that has been rendered by all the participants are here with us, and thank you for that. And we have with us as a resource person, Dr. To start the program, Professor and Head Department of Sports Management, Sports Psychology and Sociology, Dr. S. Prem Kumar, sir, to welcome the gathering. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Kannadasan, sir. Respected dignitaries, my dear faculty friends from different departments of this university, and my dear participants from different places, and my dear students friends. Good morning, all of you. First of all, it is a pleasant privilege and honor for us in welcoming our keynote speaker, Dr. Sanjay Tiwari, for this webinar. We welcome you, sir. And Dr. Sanjay Tiwari is a managing committee member, Indian Sociological Society, and he is also a honorary director, UP Athletic Association. We are very much pleased to have him today as a keynote speaker. I'm sure his deliberation would be very much useful for us to develop and enrich our knowledge. And I welcome all the participants who are from different parts of the country and institution for this webinar. And of course, your participants really motivate us in organizing this kind of useful webinars from our department. I also welcome all the faculty members from different departments of our university for this webinar. I also welcome all the scholars and students of various departments for this webinar. I'm sure we all know that sport and society cannot be separated. Sport has become a part and parcel of our life. You all know that sport is played for people and by people. So we cannot separate sports from our life. And of course, today we have a very good topic for deliberation, sports for life. And I'm I'm sure all of you know that one of the very unique quality of sports is socialization. And of course, there are other uniqueness are there, achievement, entertainment, health. But socialization, I find socialization as a very, very important uniqueness of sports, because socialization is important. And I'm sure today's deliberation would be very much useful for us in understanding how well sports has and of course going hand in hand with our life. I welcome you all once again for this wonderful webinar. Wish you all have a nice time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your great words on this wonderful morning. And as you said, sports for life is an interesting topic. For that, we have a great resource person to have a good deliberation. And to formally welcome our resource person, may I request Professor Dr. Shaheen Ahmed, Madam, to introduce our resource person. Ma'am, please, ma'am.
Ma'am,
please unmute, ma'am.
Can you please unmute? Okay.
डॉक्टर तिवारी, तमिलनाडु फिजिकल एजुकेशन एंड स्पोर्ट्स यूनिवर्सिटी से आपका हार्दिक स्वागत है हमारे वेबिनार के लिए। नमस्कार। So, Dr. Sanjay Tiwari happens to be a managing committee member elect from the year 2018 to 2023 of the prestigious Indian Sociological Society, with a vivid industry and academic exposure in the fields of sociology, sports, and management. Dr. Sanjay is credited with attending, presenting, chairing in more than 75 conferences, both nationally and in over more than 20 countries: UK, USA, Canada, Sweden, Denmark, Argentina, Switzerland, Russia, China, Japan, Italy, Germany, etc. He is credited with establishing sports sociology in India, both within the ISS and the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. He has many good publications to his credit, and his sociological interests around industry, sports, and leisure. He is also a qualified national technical official of the Athletics Federation of India. He is the sole long-time member from India of the International Sociology of Sports Association and the International Paralympic Committee, Bonn 2010. He is a member of the North American Society for Sports Sociology, NASSS, and Society for the Study of Social Problems, USA. He is on the editorial board of some selected publications, including International 2. He is also an international reviewer of the prestigious International Journal for Review of the Sociology of Sport. He is the sole member of ISSA from India and is academic rich in receiving many grants and awards, noticeably grants for attending the World Congresses of Sports Sociology at Budapest and Lausanne in 2016 and 2018 from the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. He is being awarded the sole full travel grant award from the Japan Sociological Society in 2013. He has been given full travel from ICSSR in 2013. He has multiple registration grants in full for attending World Congresses of Sociology and many USA forums of sociology. The Lee Support Fund for attending SSSP annual meet in USA in 2016, the European Association for Sports Management Exclusive Award in 2012, the full grant of USD 1,200 for second and ISA Forum of Sociology held at Buenos Aires in 2012, etc. The list goes on and on, but since, we would love to hear from Dr. Tiwari, probably, we are just cutting short the list. So it's amazing to read your biodata, because we are happy that you are in midst of us. He also serves as a senior faculty member at the Divisional Teaching Center of the Mammoth PSU Life Insurance Corporation of India, and has also served in the Central Board of the Sports Promotion here. Thank you very much. So it was really an honor reading your credentials. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible to everybody.
Yes.
Audible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before sharing the screen, let me express my gratitude to the Tamil Nadu Physical Education and Sports University, to the Honorable Vice Chancellor in absentia. I give her the credit of holding this webinar. I'm really grateful to her. I'm grateful to Professor S. Prem Kumaraji, Professor and Head of the Department. I'm grateful to Professor Mangayar Karasi for giving me this opportunity, because she was the first point of interaction between me and her. And when we discussed this meeting and holding of this webinar, I thank Dr. Shaheen for reading out my small CV. I also thank the organizing secretary, Dr. Kanna Dasan, if in case I am able to pronounce it. I also thank the patron, the registrar, Dr. V. Gopinath ji, and also Dr. V. Ramesh Kumar ji from the university. I'm really privileged and honored to find all of you amongst me. And before pouncing on the subject and really going through my slides, because the number of slides are much in number, but no issue, I will try to do some justice with the time, and so that I'm able to get proper time for the question and answers also. So right now it's 11:10 or so. I am just sharing the screen and I am proceeding with my presentation. My screen sharing is paused. Okay, is the screen visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One second. So in today's speech, I would like to deliver something on the sociology of sports and its roadmap in India. This is my small introduction. Already it has been read. I'll be passing on these slides also for those who need it. And my email ID, my mobile numbers, all is there. So you all are welcome. Once again, let me stop this, because the notifications are coming. Can the host take out the notifications of the waiting room? Let me see. Call. Yes. Now it's okay. Now sport. Already Dr. Prema Kumara started with the utilities what sport can do to us. But perhaps when we talk about sport, it employs not only the game itself, but many physical activities that contribute to the mental well-being, the health well-being, the social interaction and interfaces of a sport. Sport has different dimensions as mentioned in the Charter of the European Union in 2001. And sport was also seen as an element of social recognition, social cohesion, as termed by Kofi Annan, the erstwhile former, you can say, United Nations Secretary General, as it promoted healthy well living, and which could have been better described as the intrinsic with its intrinsic and extrinsic values, means both the inner values and the outer values. The outer values may be visible, the inner values may be not visible, and which added dimensions to different facets of the life, contributed to the growth and development in each stages of the lifestyle of a person, whether to start from the birth, from the infancy, or at the later stage, you can say. In today's talk, what we intend to study basically is the social aspect of sport. And you know, in India, we have been discussing about many other aspects of the sport, whether it goes to the sport medicine, whether it goes to the nutrition part of the sport, whether it goes to kinesiology, whether it goes to the fitness part of the sport, whether it also goes to the psychological part of the sport. Because the Tamil Nadu Sports University basically holds the Department of Psychology of Sports, and then we have the Sociology of Sports. So today I'll be discussing more of the sociological perspective, sociological approach of sport, and through which the development mechanism can be generated. So in order to go for and study the sociological impact, we will have to understand into a more broader, into more macro views. The field will be concerned with the description and explanations of the interrelations, the interconnection between sports and other social components, the social structures. The unique feature about the sociological approach to sport, as distinct from psychology, we know that when we study psychology, sports psychology, basically it's the study of the mind of an individual regarding the sport. And psychology has been a focus about sport in its function as a component of the social organization. Thus, sport is very important component of the major sociological concepts when we talk about the major sociological concepts which can undergo a change. Whether it is be socialization, we study culture, we study criminality, we go for the collective behaviors of micro and big groups, whether we ought to study the media, mass communications, etc., and the institutional interrelationships between important institutions such as the religion, the politics, or education. For me, the sociological perception and understanding can be categorized into three basic themes, you can say, basic institutions. Like family is an institution, religion is an institution, medicine, education, science, they all are institutions. In the similar fashion, sport is also a social institution which vies for sociological examination. There is a need to socially examine sports. And second, sport is a microcosm. When I talk about a microcosm, it's at the epicenter of a larger universe, you can say. So sport is a microcosm of the larger society, and as such, it has the tendency of reflecting the foremost philosophy of living. Not only it has the tendency of reflecting the foremost philosophy of living, it also has the tendency of reinforcing these philosophies. At a later stage, we will be talking talking on this. Now, there are many institutional links between sport and other social institutions. For example, you talk about family, which itself is an institution. Parivar ek sanstha hai. Sport itself is an institution. So you cannot segregate sport and family. You cannot segregate sport and education. You cannot segregate sport and medicine. You cannot segregate sport and industry. So it is almost impossible to delineate sport from any other institution. Now, with context to India, here I would come to the main crux where we have to start. There has almost been no research work done in this area. Now, gradually for the past 2, 3, 4 years, some work has started. Some PhDs, some enrollment in sports sociology PhDs have started. But as a matter of fact, there has been almost no research work done in this area. Particularly when we ought to measure the sociological dimensions which pertain to growth and development of our children and the youth through the practices adopted via sports. Mind it, I'm not talking about the psychological impacts. I'm talking about the social impacts. Because in the field of psychology, in the field of sports management, we have had done some work in India. But in the field of sociology of sports, it has been very less rather. As such, the issue is that since when we talk about social, when we talk about sociology, we talk about the society, the community at large. So any single type of a data or single type of a source or single type of case profile, say you go and try to research something sports with gender, then gender has n number of classifications. You have girls, small girls who go for leisurely activities. You have young girls, you have children girls, you have adolescent girls, you have ladies who go for leisure and sport practices. Then you have the rural folk, you have the semi-urban folk, you have the urban folk, then you have sample sizes, you have the metros, and etc., etc., etc. Then you have regional classifications. So my point of view is that you cannot have a single type of a data or source for this. Why? Because for the past so many years, we have not started any work in this. So that is why this presentation today is more oriented towards gathering of data, requesting the students, the teachers, the practitioners, and the other stakeholders to come forward, and then in the process, going with our recommendations to the universities, to the through the vice chancellors, to the government of India and other stakeholders. So as I said, that any single source of data will fail to capture when I say about the complexities involved. Complexities means, as I narrated, for example, I took up a small section of gender. I could have talked about marginalization. I could have talked about migration and diaspora. If in case the migrated population is here, what are the facilities can they be given for their growth through sports? So there are so many issues which can be taken out from the main discipline of sociology. I'll be coming to the slides and try to portray a more clear picture before you. So any single source or data will not be successful. I cannot say it will fail to capture the complexity. Rather, it will not be successful in capturing the entire complexity and the relationship and studying the relationship between sport and the development of our children and youth. And therefore, many studies need to be reflected upon in the days to come. Apart from what we can say is what documentary evidences we have, we can add to those evidences, but they are basically primary evidences. So it's very important. Now, in most of the developing nations today, when I talk about developing nations, I talk about India. If in case we have to believe what President Donald Trump has to say, I do not know whether people believe what he says or not. But if in case we have to take by his words, nearly 4 months back, when there was the subsidy issue of the India government being debated, he said that why should India be getting a subsidy with the International Monetary Fund? Why should be India getting the subsidy when India is a developed nation? So he said that India is a developed nation. For me, it was an exaggeration. For me, India is a developing country. But then to let us not fall into the rhetoric whether it is a developing nation or a developed nation. At least it's not an underdeveloped nation today. So in most of the developing nations today, when we are moving ahead from the Malthusian theory, the economist Malthusian said that we have to first seek green pastures as far as food is concerned, clothes is concerned, shelter is concerned. Only then we can think of other development measures, whether it will be development in the area of science and technology, whether it will be development in the area of sports, or some other development in the areas of research and development in many other areas. So first of all, we have to go by the primary, you can say basic primary needs which the Indian populace requires. Now, so in most of the developing nations today, as said, the number of the young population is gradually increasing. In most years, the number of the young people will peak, go to a all-time high the next 10 years. In some cases, in the next 2 decades, you can say. Now, what this signifies? It signifies that the countries will be facing eminent physical pressures to fund secondary education, maybe tertiary education, maybe primary education. When we talk about secondary and tertiary, not primary, because the youth population will increase. By that time, the children will be in a transition stage from the primary to the secondary sector, you can say. And we will be facing some different type of challenges in the form of the health sector. For the past so many decades, we have seen the you can say crux and flow of the, you can say, HIV and AIDS. Then we have seen the Ebola virus, we have seen plagues, we have seen so many water communicable diseases, etc., etc. And for this decade, we are already facing the pandemic. So these pressures will also be there. So the large number of people, the countries have vast opportunities for these young people. And when I say that the countries will have a large opportunity for the young people, I also go on to say and add on that the accommodations will have different sort of challenges. We will have to shift. There will be a paradigm shift from the ways in which we used to research to the days of COVID and the days ahead. You people have been, this is the 6th webinar I have been told. So I do not know the social aspects, whether they have been discussed or debated in the previous seminars or not. But you people have been attending other webinars also. And you people have seen that COVID has posed some different, altogether new challenges for not only for the sociologists, but all the social sciences wings. So this opportunity, which is good for us as we will be having a young population, will also come with multiple challenges. Well, the emerging workforce is young, we know, and the relative population will have fewer elderly individuals. When I say that the young population will rise, naturally, we will see somewhat of the extinction of the elderly individuals. So for governments, what will happen is the government will have the fundings also, because this will free up the resources and they can invest these resources in a better form in the human capital, so that it generates a nice and a healthy development return. Now to optimize this opportunity, what this young population will present before us, it is really very important for us to invest and support in the future of our children and youth. It is not only scientifically to support all these things, not only economically to support all these things, but socially also. Investing in children and the youth today will ensure that they keep a good and healthy body, and they are well equipped and managed to face the critical life ups and downs which may be ahead. There is a history which has been seeing that people say कि लोग कहते हैं in almost each decade we have an epidemic. Maybe this is a pandemic now, but at least we have an epidemic which is centered around some region of the globe. Maybe this pandemic it's pan globe, but we do see some big diseases, some big Ebola sites of virus or something else. So while the early years are an important determinant of a child's future, बच्चों का आगे का जीवन बहुत important है. Adolescence is also has critical transitions that set the stage of their future lives. World Bank, naturally, after researchers has identified these five important components for the youth development, and we have to concentrate on these areas. Well, continuing to learn is from the childhood, going to work, starting to work, developing a healthy mindset and a healthy lifestyle. And people say in the Indian mythology, particularly in the Hindu mythology, we have the vanashrams, the grahasthrashrams, we have the 4 ashrams. People say that nothing is complete unless and until you go with the family. You don't go with the family, so जीवन पूरा नहीं होता है. Then beginning a family and bonding there, creating a bond, and after all, in the end, being a good citizen of your town, being a good citizen of your region, of your state, of your nation, of the globe, and overall a good human being. So all these are the important 5 components which really urge upon a person to be a viable and good human being. Now, sports sociology gauged attention for the past some years. And why did it gauge this attention? Why? Because for the past 2 to 3 decades, it has started gauging. Rather specifically speaking, it started in the year 70 in the western part of the world, you can say. And why did the sports sociology gauge attention of the sociologists? Is that there were some important commitments, and the commitments were the 1959 declaration, the United Nations Declaration of Rights for every child to play and do leisurely activities. Then we had 20 years after, we had the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organizations which echoed the same sentiment, that the sport and physical education should be a basic right, and it declared in its Paris chapter of physical education. In 99, again we had the conference of the ministers of different countries, and in the declaration of Punta del Este, they came out with a committed focus on developing an inter-area strategy for development of physical education and sports. Mind it, you will see that everywhere there is physical education and sport. Please, till 99. Now, governments again acknowledge the right of children in 2002 when the United Nations General Assembly adopted a healthy and fit world for the children. And after the 2003 United Nations Interagency Task Force, subsequent in 2003, 2004, 2006, naturally 2005 was declared as the United Nations International Year for Sport and Physical Education. And I was going through a university website, and 2005 compounded with the formation of the Tamil Nadu Sports University also. So you people who are there with a valid, you can say, vision and mission behind you. So in 2005, all these things, all these issues with the United Nations took over. Since I do not know in today's day, at least India has started challenging the way in which United Nations is functioning. But let us talk about these areas till 2005 and previously, all these areas which exhorted upon these sports officials, the ministries and other stakeholders to come ahead. And these 59, 78, 99, 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6 and more of this ahead. This prompted the discipline of sociology to move ahead of physical education. These commitments reinforce the importance of the sport, as I have said, and put playing as the basic human necessity right for all the children in the sport. The sport, you must have read this thing in the psychology of sports also, and it can add significantly to the global, national, and local efforts to give the children a very healthy start. Now, sport can help those who haven't received a good start and equip youth with the information, skills, personal and social resources and support needed to make key life transitions. Who haven't received a good start is for children who are not on at par on physical ability with other students. So how can they be? How can therapies be a form of these sports? How can some small tricks and bits of physical exercise be a part of the sport? And then try to reduce the gap between the able and the somewhat physically challenged, and equip that disabled or somewhat Divyangajan with more information, skills, and other resources, which can make their life more healthy. And this is not only about the disabled persons. When I talk about disabled, it does not only mean physically disabled. A person who is marginalized due to some caste, due to some creed, due to some geographical mislocations, etc., is also disabled. So how come he or she can be transformed and put on par with the other counterparts is also important. Here sports can bring laurels. It is also vital to note, however, that much of the facts supporting sports potential come from developed countries. Naturally, US, Canada, Australia, UK, maybe Europe, some leading nations in Europe, maybe China, Japan. They are ahead because they have moved ahead from the basic requirements. They do not have now. They do not face problems of malnutrition. They do not face problems of you can say resources. Their per capita income is good. They do not have fooding, housing, and shelter problems. However, a different debate has now started as far as health is concerned, that these health systems can even be challenging, as we have found during the times of COVID. So these are the new dimensions. When I say that, it is important to note that the facts supporting potential, they come from developed countries. This aspect for researchers can also be one aspect which needs to be hypothecated and researched and analyzed once again with a different parameter post-COVID. More focused analysis of the policies and programs is required in our nations, in developing nations such as ours, to generate knowledge and inform the initiative taken in these contexts. देखिए, कोई भी सरकार आपकी बात को नहीं सुनेगी अगर आपके पास एविडेंस बेस्ड रिसर्च नहीं है. If you do not have an evidence based research, maybe sample छोटा हो चलेगा, but there should be research which has some evidences, So how can we inform the initiative to the stakeholders? We have to analyze more on the research in the area of sociology of sport. Sport, however, is already being used throughout the globe to advance child and youth education and development, and suggesting that the benefits are already appreciated, if not yet fully understood. When I say that it is not fully understood, is that there are some deficits also. Deficits, when I say disadvantage, deficits or demerits. For example, sports. People say that sports is good for creating and filling the gap between societies, between communities. Now let us talk about the elite game of sport of golf. Now this game is a snooker or billiards. This is for the elite class. Now when you see, if in case a person from the lower strata of income wants to enter into that area, he or she cannot do so. So these are the demerits also. So sports always goes for the education and the healthy health and mental well-being is not true in some cases. So all these things can be researched, all these things can be analyzed and conclusively put forth after proper research and evidences. The existing evidence which shows that developmentally appropriate programs for children can ensure that they receive very affirmative experiences. And these experiences, these positive experiences act as catalysts through play. उत्प्रेरक का काम करते हैं. That they need to take advantage of the जो भी हमारे यहाँ जो भी whatever critical development windows which we have, उसका अगर वो advantage लेते हैं, they can go and establish their future life, not only their life, individual life, the life of the society, the life of the region, the life of the state, nation, etc. So these critical development windows, when I talk about the critical development windows, is one area which the sociology of sport are to focus. Important point. Involving the parents and those who are the guardians allows programs to pass on simple and leisurely ways for them to help their children develop and grow through play. As parents, do we really give the children enough time to exercise their choice of play, or go out on the outfields or go out on the roads to play? The role of sport in managing critical situations, social development, means interface development of communities, of individual and societal building has increased vigorously over the past 10 or 15 years. And countries have started concentrating on the vital issue in order to socially and economically uplift and upgrade the standards of living of their citizens. Countries have, through research, observed that a sporting nation is a strong nation, both physically and mentally. You have before us You have the examples. If in case you go and search for the records of the Olympics, you will find the domination of these countries which are figuring on my scale, on the screen. So you have the example, and they have consistently for years maintained the standards of a sporting nation. However, challenges are there inter alia between US and China, or China and Australia, something like this. But naturally, they have been at the forefront. And when I say about the development of people, mind it is not only the economic development which has been looked after by these countries. In the next slide, see here, you have evidences of the small countries also. And when I talk about small countries, I talk about Kenya. Say you have the leading athletes from Kenya. They are not economically that sound, but perhaps they put that developmental structure over there, and they made steady inroads and figured into the main, you can say, main bracket of leading countries as far as sports is concerned. And mind it, Kenya has received billions of dollars, and they have raised their economy only due to sports. I hope you will agree. The secret of their success is coupled with the coordinated efforts of their various agencies. They have a public-private partnership over there, and they are promoting sports. Then we have the creation of the proper logistics, right from the level of the children to the level of exclusive and vigorous coaching. As compared to progress of these nations, there has been little or rather no progress. I'm sorry. Let us delete no progress. I will say, as far as India is concerned, there has been progress. You see the medal tally of 2006 Commonwealth Games. Then you come to 2010 Commonwealth Games. You see the 2014 Commonwealth Games. The medal tally has increased. The medal tally in the Asian track and field events has increased. The performance of our athletes in the field of cricket has increased. So there has been progress, but within the given capacity of the country, of a vast population of 130 crore, is it appropriate that we get 1 medal or 2 medals or 3 medals in the Olympics? No. Previously, there have been attempts by the government of India to assess the reasons behind this poor show, you can say, or dismal show, or you can say thin show. But mind it, they have वो सब कमिटी बन के कागज में बना के रख दिए गए. They have been piled. We had the Amrit Singh committee in 87. It was after the 10th Asian Games in Seoul. It was formed to assess what were the reasons behind the dismal and poor show. Then the committee by Mr. Rajendran in 1991 was constituted to ensure all of these schemes. Why we have the Rajiv Gandhi Yuva Krida Kendra in place for, I think, now more than 2.5 decades. What indeed has been done to these Rajiv Gandhi Yuva Krida Kendra? We are in the habit of immediately criticizing our governments. No, all stakeholders have been involved. There have been so many of corrupt practices in between the states, in between the regional corporations. Have we as accommodations doing justice to our athletes? These are questions. Now, within the state, the sports development comes within the purview of the state. If in case we have the state championships, this is a small law. If in case the national sports are there, it falls within the ambit of the entries 10 and 13 of the union list as enumerated in the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India. You will find this in the website of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Youth and Sports Affairs, Government of India. And mind it, accommodations, please do read these. You should have a know-how of each and every state regulation before proceeding for any minor project or major project or anything you can say. However, the sports culture in India which needs to be analyzed. Why I say, हमारे यहाँ आज भी, please try to understand. Father से बेटा बोला, the son says, Daddy, Papa, I want to go out and play. Oh. No. Or mother says, no, you will be cutting time. You slept all the day and you'll be cutting time from your homework and classwork, and you please don't go. Please. Okay. Go out only 25 minutes, 30 minutes. So what is the mindset of the parents towards sports? They only think that it's a small recreational and leisurely activity, very less in numbers, and not as a career growth prospect. Maybe they are not wrong. Why? Because the educational curriculum which has been in place for us for decades now puts more emphasis on seeing that a person gets a clerk job in a bank or within the LIC or as a teacher in any primary school or a secondary school or a degree school or an engineer or a person in the working with the railways or the income tax or the staff selection commission. So the more onus is on getting a proper service. Leaving behind sports, this is a basic area of concern and investigation. And research directed at the relationship between parents and their children is important. That we have to study the approach of the parents which impact the players' desire to continue playing sports. In 2008 and 2010, I was in Beijing. When I was in Beijing, I visited 4 parks over there. And I saw that the mothers who were 40 years, 45 years, maybe 50 years, so maybe grandnannies, grandparents were there. They used to take their children in the parks. There was a ping pong ball with an elastic. They used to throw it. The child used to run and pick up the ball. They could not run, but the child used to run and pick up. We stayed in 5-star hotels. Their 5-star hotels were not multi-layered hotels of 20, 25, 40, 50 floors. They were 3 floors. They were small steps for dinners, for lunches. You had to assemble at a proper place. Means multiple times you had to climb these stairs. What is this? These are small steps. These are small areas which you have to research, not only one area. And when I say that the parents have that mindset, the parents are also not wrong, because as pointed, our educational curriculum talked about something else. It did not talk about sports. I have already given a small note to the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. I do not know what they have done. I also in the Namo app, I also messaged to the Honorable Prime Minister. And during my meeting with the Prime Minister in 2016, I also emphasized that sports, at least one period, right from class 1, should be a mandatory, and out of 100, let the child secure 20 marks, 15 marks. So the compulsion with the parent must be that he has to perform something. He has to send his or her child out to the playground for 15, 20, 1 hour, 40 minutes, whatever it is. So the parents' mind, when we study, we have to consider this aspect also. कोई माँ बाप sports में नहीं डाल रहा है. Why? We are a socially and economically backward society. Backward, not socially. Economically, you can say somewhat not up to the mark of the developed nations. तो हमारी priorities different है. माँ बाप बच्चों को पढ़ाता है कि तुम खेलते रहोगे तो तुम पैसा कैसे कमाओगे. The family structure is such that the father is supporting a household of 3, 4, 5 persons. So the priorities are different. So altogether हम parents को मना करें? No. But the times are changing. And here comes the functions, the scope, what is the body of knowledge that sociology of sports has, and what it can relate to the practice. It is more of a social science, a social analysis of sport. In addition to the main work of sociology, I am not saying that political science does not encompass sports, human geography does not encompass sports, anthropology, social psychology doesn't, and economics doesn't encompass sports. It does encompass. But sociology as a discipline tries to, it's an offshoot, it's a sub-discipline, the sociology of sports. It tries to gather more information on the various sport facets which sports has to produce to our accommodation in today's world. Then in sociology, there has been a paradigm shift from the traditional thinkings of what you studied caste, you studied village. You have Professor Radha Kumal Mukherjee, you had Professor Srinivasan, they used to study the villages. Then you had Professor Yogendra Singh, you had Professor T.K. Human, they studied some urban centers. My point of view is that sociology has moved ahead from studying religion, from studying caste, from studying some migration studies, from studying some development, rather studying the media, going for some gender studies, going more of studies in the area of leisure. Only Professor Ishwar Modi, who was he's no more, who was the ex-president of the International Sociological Association Research Committee 13 on the sociology of leisure. He started some work in the sociology of leisure, maybe not in tunes now because he is no more. So there are very many well-represented fields which are now emerging, and these are posing new challenges to the field, to the main discipline of sociology. Aim of sociology of sport, very hurriedly, to basically examine what is the role and function of sociology of sport in the life of the individual vis-a-vis the communities. To describe and narrate the upsurge and diffusion of sport over time and space in different societies. To identify and find the processes as to how sport can socialize out of modern sport also. To investigate the values and norms of dominant, emergent and residual cultures and subcultures in sport. When I talk about subcultures, मैं छोटा सा example दे रहा हूँ. Say there is a Commonwealth game in your country. We have prepared a Commonwealth village. It has involved more than 500, 300 crores. Immediately after the games are over, what will happen to those 300 apartments or 400 apartments in that village? We have these swimming pools also and all these things. So can we develop a small society, a housing society over there? If in case we have to develop a housing society, we can give those flats in subsidized rates, maybe in subsidized rates to the sports person, and increase the viability of sports beyond playing sports. So a subculture will develop now. We have to study the cultures of these sports societies. We have to develop the cultures of why these allotments were not made to sports person. Was there any economic reason, or was there any social reason? These are some subcultures which can emote, which can be a residual part of the main basic cultures. Then to find out how the exercise of power and the stratified, diversified nature of societies has restrictions, but simultaneously the chances and possibilities of one's involvement and success in sports, not only as the athletes or runners, also as technical officials. I've been a technical officials. Maybe some students as spectators, the general spectators, maybe the workers who work in the stadiums, maybe the vendors who will be putting up their stalls over there, or maybe the consumers, maybe the advertising companies, the media, and the consumers who consume products which have been given by the professed by the sports persons, blah, blah, blah. To examine the way in sport responds to social changes in larger society. This is the prime function. Community में sports कैसे respond करेगा, social changes कैसे आएंगे, this is being examined by the sociology of sport. To contribute both to knowledge base of sociology, naturally, when we go for researching in the sociology of sport, we will contribute to the main discipline also. And in the process, we will be formulating a proper policy that seeks and desires to ensure that global sport processes are less wasteful. For example, I have told you that we generated stadiums. People used to hear that stadium generated, they are white elephants. In 2011, when I was in Denmark and Cologne, Germany, for the play the game conferences. So there was a huge discussion on these mammoth stadiums which have been built. And after these events, they were white elephants, and you can say they were the grounds for the corruption. So how come these resources can be used for the betterment, not only for the sports person, but for the public at large? So these are so many areas in which the sociology of sport has its principles engrounded. Sociology of sports, it also desires to basically examine the commonsensical views about the role, function, and meaning that sports has in different societies. Why? Please note, I have said the commonsensical views. Here we don't have empirical studies. Commonsensical views is what are the natural views that have been coming through decades through our ancestors. पुराने लोगों से जो चीजें कॉमन सेंस के थ्रू आती जा रही हैं, we have to incorporate those views also. So by challenging natural and taken for granted views about sport, sociologists seek to provide a more social and scientifically adequate account. See, when I talk about scientific measurements, you have X number of bodies, but when we have to research in the scientific areas, we have to go for the social dimensions also. Ebola virus हुआ साउथ अफ्रीका में. Ebola virus में साइंटिस्ट ने निकाल दिया कि this is the injection procedures, but there were some social events in the African subcontinent that if in case you infuse the injection, this will not be taken by the Almighty and their forest gods as good. So these were the social events. So social processes are very important. what will a conjunction of scientific studies, a conjunction of social studies, mind it, इसमें differences भी बहुत हैं. Social scientist में और natural scientist में हमेशा झगड़ा हुआ है. Scientists say that we have evidence-based research. Social scientists कहते हैं कि we have both evidence-based research on the basis of human actions for years, for decades, for centuries. So both combinedly can inform and perform the decision and actions of policy of people and the policy of governments, of NGOs and sports organizations. Although, as in sociology, more generally, there are several different perspectives which can examine the relationship between sport. We can study sport and gender, sport and marginalization, sports and religion, sport and caste, sport and leisure, sport and migration studies, sport and development, etc. For example, sociologists, whether they examine the micro or macro aspects of sport, whether we go to study the indigenous sports, or whether we go to study the more you can say advanced today sports and their aspects, they seek and they desire to embed their analysis in more of a wider cultural and structural context. When I say cultural, when I say talk about some of the indigenous games which involve cultural aspects, and when I talk about the macro and in today's games, they talk about the structural concept. In context of sports sciences, as I have stated, please mind it. For this slide is specifically for the sports psychologist and for those persons who are in the area of sport medicine, in the area of drug seekings, in the area of sport management, sport kinesiology, etc., etc. So please see the difference. So what will the sociology of sport do? It seeks to generate a knowledge of which will contribute to the overall human development, as opposed to the performance efficiency. Sports science will tell you about medicine, will it tell you about doping, will tell you about drugs, etc., etc. Will you use the new coaching techniques? Will talk about how to go for a start, how to go for a run, how to go for a warm-up session, etc., etc. And will try to increase your performance efficiency. Mind it. You have increased the performance efficiency of that particular athlete. But if in case that performance efficiency goes down and that athlete goes down, the sociologists of sport have to look into that aspect also. That is, they seek to critically examine the cost, benefits, limits, and possibilities of modern sport for all those involved. When I talk about cost, it is not only economic costs. It is talk about the cost of time also. When I talk about benefits, it is not only in financial benefits, terms of financial benefits. It is in terms of social benefits also. And in the process, when we talk about the possibilities which our today's sport has to give, then we have to go ahead of performance efficiency. This does not undermine performance efficiency. Please mind it. I am not undermining performance efficiency because this is altogether a different department, different portfolio. You will have to do it. But I am talking about the overall human development index or the human development social index. Those sociologists working with sociology departments examine sports in the same way as they examine family, as they examine religion or any other institution for that sake. Why? Because we have to examine the human conditions of that society. And sport, as already discussed, is already an institution as any other institution. Sociology of sport, thus, it desires and seeks not only to contribute to its main discipline of sociology, but also to changing the results of the sports world. With respect to the sports world, research seeks to delineate, debunk with popular mysteries and myth about sport. Critically appraise the actions of those more powerful groups involved in sport, and within these more powerful groups inform social policy towards sport. I have been a regular goer to the new Khelo India Youth School Games 2018, 2019, 2020, and this is a great initiative. It has tried to, you can say, pierce the shackle of those powerful groups. I do not know how many of you know, but out of the context, let me tell you, as a sports person, or as an athlete or the technical official, let me tell you hurriedly that now what the government is doing, it is providing economic help also, financial help also to the lower or the middle income class, for the parent जिसके फादर कहते थे खाने को नहीं है तुम खेल को कैसे करते हो, एंड सिंस स्पोर्ट्स इन्वॉल्व्स मनी, एक कोच लगाओगे आप, वो एक साल का, एक महीने का 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 रुपए लेगा, पैसा सारा खर्चा एक पे 40,000 होगा. अभी क्या है, खेलो इंडिया में you have a 5 lakh rupees scholarship for 5 years. So you are developing, you have broken the shackles. So the government is doing, and it is not so that they have not seen the reports of sociologists or sociologists of sports. And let me tell you, with pride I can say that I have been also instrumental in putting forward some of these reports to the government of India in my capacity. Body of knowledge. Now precisely, let me come to the precise point. See, 20s we saw the start of this discipline. Exactly, it was not termed as sociology of sport. Rather, in the 60s, rather late 60s and 70s beginning, in Europe and northern part of America, this sub-discipline started to emerge. There was the International Committee for the Sociology of Sport, ICSSS. It started in 1965. Now it is known as the International Sociology of Sport Association. I am a regular member of this association, and it holds conferences every year. At a later stage, I'll come to this. From this point on, they held conferences, congresses, workshops almost each year. And researchers from very various backgrounds, they began to develop sociological definitions of sport, conduct new researchers in different aspects of sport, and gradually the Western belts, they started developing undergraduate, master and doctoral and diploma courses also. Research areas, they included sports and socialization, social stratifications, how can different subcultures be studied, what is the political economy of sport, how can sport add to the economic kitty, financial kitty of the nation, what are the tendencies of sport which you can say elevate deviance and crime, then what is the role of the media in the sport, then what is the body, what is the role of the body and the emotions in the sport, has emotions form a part in the family, in the education sector, in the industry world. So in the sport, how does sport turn into violence? You can say whether it is mental violence, whether it is jugglery, whether it is any sort of violence, then corruption practices in sport, whether it is betting, whether it is going for other sorts of corruption, then what are the sport politics? Say many federations, previously only the politicians used to get hold of their presidents and the secretaries and treasurers, etc. Things have changed a lot now, and the natural athletes are over there. Then how can sports be identified at the national level as an identity? You can say China as a big gainer in the Olympics, or the US as a big gainer of Olympics, and they have a great reputation. Then how can sport serve the gap between us, and how can it help the globalization processes? And on the basis of this sub-discipline, there has been a clear understanding how can people be involved in sport. However, let me tell you that it has been prominent. These debates have been prominent in the western part of the world. we have still to come. I'll be coming to all these things hurriedly. And yeah, so a sophisticated understanding of how people have been involved in sport, what are the obstacles they face, such as the gender, girls, उनको खिलाना है कि नहीं खिलाना है, class, you come from this class, no sorry, ethnicity, race issues. Then we have many of the sexual relations which work in the sport. We have the transgenders over there. Then in addition, scholars have developed basic knowledge about how sport is mediated, transmitted, and it has contoured by a complex political economy. There are the political, naturally we have come out with the positions when political leaders used to hold important positions, and how has it added to the economy. Naturally, when we talk about economy, we talk about the political positions. It has been internet globally also. When I say that play the game 2011, when I was there, I found a nexus between the football federations over there and the political entities over there. So it is not the case of India only. It is the case of other nations also. Over the last 30 years, I'll write up. Over the last 30 years, much work has been done. We have handbooks, textbooks, etc. in the northern part of America and Europe. But of late, sociology of sport has been established in Asia, basically in Japan and in China. And some parts of Latin America have started working in the area of sociology of sports. Southern African continents have started working in the area of sociology of leisure, you can say. And so they are using the social aspect of sport to help and understand the social problem, and how can the sociology of sport and how can sport eliminate the basic problems and illuminate and enlighten other sociological issues and relationship to the practice. Now, sociology of sport, as noted, it seeks to contribute to our understanding. We have said about this thing in many ways. We can offer expert advices to our governments and other stakeholders. It's written. We have so many. Personally, I have been an organizer of the doping seminars, many doping seminars where officials from the NADA have been there, and we have been coming out with solutions to address this doping issue. I'm also working on a paper. Rather, it is under publication with Nova Publications, and 4 of the professor, one from the New York University, other from the Peking University, he's a postdoctoral fellow, myself, and one professor from Russia. We have already submitted a big research on doping. So these things are going on, and once we submit, we are going to the government also. So now, by acting as an advocate for the athletes' rights and responsibilities, not only the right of the athlete, we have to talk about the duties of the athlete also. And the duties of the athlete are to be a citizen also. Before being an athlete, he is a citizen. So he has to abide by the rules and strictures which have been passed. And what are the social evils which incite the athletes to just slip by their trajectory and go to seek some different paths. Providing research for groups who seek to challenge the inequalities, not to talk about all these things in many other classes, whether it's gender or ethnicity, or whether we talk about the ages and disabilities, people associated with sports. We see that there are many people who are coming out with fake certificates and going for tournaments, etc. How can we counter all these things? We have many variable type of tests doing these things, which examines the bone marrow test, etc., which goes for the exact age of the athlete. Then, if in case it cross works and the athlete goes down, he's not able to perform, not able to play, not allowed to play, what are the social dimensions, etc. By promoting human development as opposed to performance efficiency, I have already said performance efficiency is one aspect and human development is other aspect. So here we talk about human development by encouraging the better use of human and the resources of the environment, and thus ensuring that there is a sporting future for generation. When I talk about environmental resources, how come our stadiums can be formed with minimal harm to the environment, etc. Here are some of the journals. As already pointed out, please just rush through. We have the IRSSS International Review for the Sociology of Sport. I am a reviewer of this. We have the Sociology of Sport Journal, Journal of Sport Social Issues, Culture, Sport Society, Leisure Studies, Japanese Journal of Sociology of Sport. Then SSSP, this is the Society for the study of social practices. It's a big organization in the United States of America at Seattle, and it comes out with a section known as Sport, Body, and Leisure. They also come out with a publication. So you have many this thing, and within the Indian Sociological Society, you can go ahead with so many things. International Network, hurriedly, this is the ISSA. There is the website. It is a research committee. It is a big, one of the most richest organization, and it has more than 500 plus odd members over there, and it is associated with very many other associations such as the NARS and North American Society for the Study of Sociology of Sports, the European College of Sports Science, the European Association for Sports Management, etc., etc. It's a big organization. More of this afterwards. Then the ISSA, immediately, just to crux and apprise you, it has international cooperation in the field of sociology of sport, exchange of information amongst the countries. However, अभी तक ये association ज़्यादातर नॉर्थ अमेरिकन और यूरोपियन पार्ट में हुआ था. जब से मैं इसमें एंट्री किया हूं, तो मैंने उनको बहुत जोर से बोल रखा है कि why not you come to India, why not you study 4 crore 5 crore, say Italy is 6 crore population, why not you come to our country and study the various dimensions of sociology of sport here also. So they are very eager to do, but मैं फिजिकली इसमें चैलेंज हो गया हूं, क्योंकि मैं इसको स्टैब्लिश कर रहा हूं. आई विल कम, मैं बताऊंगा मैंने उनसे क्या बोला है, व्हाट दे वांट टू कन्वीन इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार्स. वो मुझसे कह चुके हैं आप करिए इंडिया में. टू प्रिपेयर एंड सर्कुलेट रिपोर्ट्स अबाउट द सोशल बैकग्राउंड ऑफ स्पोर्ट एंड द स्टेटस ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी ऑफ स्पोर्ट एक्सपैंड करना है उनको. टू कोऑपरेट विद ISA. ISA is the International Sociological Association, headquarters at Madrid. It is the apex and biggest organization of International Sociology Association. It has many thematic groups and research committees and working groups. One is the research committee number 27 on sports sociology. इससे भी आप जुड़ सकते हैं. Then to identify sociological problems in sport and where appropriate, वो international research program और workshops organize करते हैं. To oversee and coordinate official publications, IRSS उनका सेज का उनका जर्नल है. To advise and facilitate the establishment of other continental, इन्होंने मुझसे कहा था कि आप रीजनल नेटवर्क सेट करिए. ये इस कॉन्फ्रेंस के बाद में तमिलनाडु स्पोर्ट्स यूनिवर्सिटी से भी बात करूंगा. If in case they ask me to set a small regional network, only the tag will be Tamil Nadu Sports University. A regional network can be established. It does not involve any money, but it will be great for the idea of India. I've told we have a research committee 27, the sociology of sports within the ISA. It is sister concern to the ISSA. We have many research committees and groups over there, more than 60. More of this you can get in the website. You can ask me also. At the national level, it warranted. At the national level, कुछ नहीं हो रहा था. Why? Because sociologists in India, they remain disinclined, because as said previously, they had many other legitimate areas of study. But your sport development programs, they provide sociologists opportunities to know and engage with the questions of structure and agency, bodies and politics. Much work has been done in other parts. यहाँ पे नहीं हुआ है, कम हुआ है. Or given the tremendous potential which our country has, 65% से ऊपर की population 35 years के नीचे है. By 2025 ये बढ़ जाएगी. So सारे policy makers का और academicians का और sociologists का role बहुत significant हो जाता है इसमें. हम जब बात करते हैं जल्दी से, चूंकि मैं sociologist हूँ, because I'm a sociologist, if I do not talk about Bourdieu and Giddens, it will be out of place. They image to rush through, because you people are not basic sociologists. So I'll just rush through and let you know that both Bourdieu and Giddens, Anthony Giddens and Pierre Bourdieu, They render that the study of sports sociology as discursive construction of social practices. Bourdieu's social approach to the study of sport, which is the subdiscipline of sports sociology, and the scope it offers to those inquiring into the social dimensions of sport and physical education have been recognized all over. Till date, let me tell you, even after 30 years, we have a lot to study and research about Bourdieu. His sociology has inspired many publications, and Clement in particular, he argues the relevance of the bodily dimensions, the bodily movements. And here, in my research, in my PhD, I have talked about the mindset. Bodily dimensions, I have talked about the mindset. And I have taken the Bourdieu's approach. It's very attractive and learned. What does Bourdieu do? He does not offer a social set of designed principles. Rather, he says a sociological method applied with some tools which through culture and society can be understood and analyzed. He has given the notion of habitus, and in the notion of habitus, he suggests a means, a way of understanding how our bodily engagements in day-to-day practices and in the practices of sport and other institutionalized physical activity, not only terms physical sport, say going to the gym also, they symbolize the interacting dynamics of culture, class and gender. स्पोर्ट्स खेलेंगे, एक साथ 100 एथलीट बैठ के खाना खाएंगे. I do not know whether you people have seen the national games or not. जब उसमें डिनर और लंच होता है तो स्पोर्ट्स एथलीट्स बैठ जाते हैं राउंड करके. He is a Hindu, he is a Muslim, he is a Sikh, he is a Christian. Within Hindu, he is a Thakur, he is a Banya, he is a Vaishya, he is a Pandit, no issue. Within a Muslim, he is a Shia, he is a Sunni, no issue. You get my point? ये broad concept आता है. However, when I study Giddens, I find that there is symmetry. How? Please note, this is a very important slide. Giddens gave the structuration approach. It does not focus on the individual actor or the societal totality, but social practices offered over a space and time. समय के से जो सोशल प्रैक्टिसेस चलती आ रही हैं उसको वो स्टडी करता है. प्लीज माइंड इट. ऑन एजेंसी ने को गिडेंस ने कहा है एजेंसी इज ह्यूमन एक्शन. टू बी ह्यूमन इज एन एजेंट, लेकिन सभी एजेंट्स ह्यूमन बीइंग्स नहीं होते हैं. हम बहुत अच्छा खेल के प्रति सोचते हैं, आई एम एन एजेंट, बट इन दिस सोसाइटी देयर आर डिफरेंट एजेंट्स जो अच्छा नहीं सोचते हैं. The agency, according to the Giddens, can lead to both the reproduction and transformation of society. Sport practices में अगर as an individual मैं sports के बारे में अच्छा सोचता हूँ और 20 agencies और अच्छा सोचती हैं, तो ये 20 agencies बना के जो society बनाती हैं उसको वो reproduce कर सकती हैं, transform कर सकती हैं. They can transform the society. So, as Rob Stone says, practices are produced in context of the duality of structure and agency. Here you have the structure of the society and here you have the structure of the agencies, and this is the duality. And they are not simple agency or human beings. It now again said it is a practices जो ये reproduce कर सकते हैं. And please, ladies and gentlemen, researchers and students, this is my crux. ये हम कहना चाहते हैं आपसे. क्या कहना चाहते हैं? With the given potential and India developing into a youth nation, I have many dream projects. And I intend to draw a schedule as to why we still have to move ahead in this area of sports. Naturally, we have the industry universities such as the Tamil Nadu Physical Education and Sports Universities, which are doing laurels and trying to do their bit. But is it enough? Are these efforts enough? Perhaps no effort is enough. But then also we have to move way ahead from what we have already done. Despite other big relations, naturally they are already ahead. My role, मैंने क्या किया sociology of sports में hurriedly In 2013-14, I gave a proposal to the Indian Sociological Society. It is the apex body of sociology professionals in India. It has more than 6,000 life members over there. The Indian Sociological Society holds annual conferences every year. I happen to be an elective member on the board. Elections होते हैं इसके, उसमें सारे sociologists vote cast करते हैं. We have the fraternity from JNU, AMU, whatever, Jadavpur University, Tamil Nadu University, Chennai University, whatever you call. And I gave my proposal for formation of an ad hoc group on sociology of sports. In 2014 Kashi Vidyapith annual conference, where the then Honorable President of India, Dada Pranab Mukherjee, late Dada Pranab Mukherjee was there. The committee, the managing committee approved my proposal, and the first sessions, the first started from 2015 in Kalinga Institute of Technology at Bhubaneswar. We held conferences. Since then, this ad hoc group has, I was the research committee convener. Group has moved ahead. We have been organizing sports sociology conferences and webinars and newsletters and meetings and sessions in all the All India sociological conferences. The membership is over 100, you can say. Everything you will get on the website, I'll let you know. Then after doing this my bit, I approached the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, and I requested them to induct sports sociology within their scheme of HRD. After meeting the Secretary Sports Government of India and doing my bit, I succeeded. Now the sports sociology is there within the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Scheme. When you go to the website, you see within the scheme of sociology, you will find it over there. What are the lessons learned? Hurriedly, 2005 started. Your university has already was brought up in 2005. Is doing a great job. The onus is now shifting from the high income countries to the lower or the middle income countries. When we talk about middle income countries, we draw our attention towards India, Japan, China, etc., whatever it is. So what lesson is the lesson learned is that sociology of sport have a wide scope for their studies. Potential that exist within sport are those they can have different views you can say. And as said by Susan Sontag, he was a novelist. What he said that any novel worth reading is an education of the heart, and it enlarges your sense of human possibilities and what human nature can be. So when we encompass sociology of sport, when we go to a transition phase, not from the western part of the world, but from our part of the world, it has relationship to the sports also. And we can realize the potential of the sport to expand its senses and explore more human possibilities, to the surprise, to inform and transition and make our lives of not only of our denizens, but of the world even better. While it is important to understand the economic and other physiological and psychological concepts, what sport can do for society, the more significant questions that originate are from the social change, as Jarvie has said, and to ignore the capacity to go for social change, particularly for the students, teachers, and researchers, of all of us, of whom we have the capacity and the platform to act as public intellectuals. Mind it, हमारी बात जो हम कहते हैं as academicians, वो सोसाइटी में ज्यादा दूर तक जाती है. लोग कहते हैं देखो प्रोफेसर बोल रहा है. What does it mean? It goes a long way, because people know that you have researched and come up with some views. It's not a hearsay. Michael Bureau was the president of the not only of the American Sociological Association, but also of the International Sociological Association, and he said that sociology has many areas in which we can discuss issues, very many problems. Naturally, sociology of sport is there for the sociologists, the university teachers, researchers, students, etc. To go for it is for this. I have said that we have very less literature over there. I have some studies, I have some publications. It is there for you people to go ahead with these studies. You can go for different context. You can go for some literature, Western literature you can get. But as far as India is concerned, you have to go in for real term researchers. It will be a challenging assignment, I know, because वेस्टर्न कंट्री के रिसर्च को लेके आप यहाँ पे कोई थीसिस को फॉर्मुलेट नहीं कर सकते हो, बट देन टू यू कैन बोरो द एंड द माइंड्स. सो यू हैव टू गो, जो आपके पास है उससे काम चलना ना, उससे आगे बढ़ना है. Recommendations, and I conclude, for the first time in context of India ये रिपोर्ट, ये सोशियोलॉजी ऑफ स्पोर्ट एस्टेब्लिश हुई है. और मेरा कंट्रीब्यूशन क्या होना चाहिए इसमें फॉर द पॉलिसी मेकर्स एंड द एजुकेशनिस्ट इज क्या कि डिस्पाइट द ग्रोइंग नंबर ऑफ फैक्टर्स एंड एक्शंस प्रोमोटिंग स्पोर्टिंग एक्टिविटी, it remains true that few of the young people are used to sport practices. Please, आप सब लोग अपने बच्चों को स्पोर्ट्स में डालिए. Please just ensure that your child, your brother, your sister, your relative, your neighborhood does become a part of a sporting activity. To just the use of sports and practices by children and youth, this will inculcate of going for a good physical activity, and at the end of the day, अगर आखिरी में वो जीवन के आखिरी में कुछ हासिल नहीं करेगा, actually he will develop a resistance power and he can fight more strongly with the days which are ahead with us. लोग कह रहे हैं कि भैया अब तो हर डिकेड में एक नया एपिडेमिक आएगा. Are we making our generation strong enough? हम तो कह रहे हैं मैं 53 साल का हो गया, I'm 53, 54 और मेरा हो गया, क्या है? What about our future generations? क्या हमारे बच्चे या उनके बच्चे, आपके जनरेशन नहीं है आगे? So we have to think about those also. The present need and objective of this sociological studies, sociological sport studies, will be to develop both quantitative and qualitative data and search for new horizons so that both individual and collective research centers can be established and integrated, which relate to multidisciplinary studies also. हमको segregate नहीं करना है. The social political situation, economic situation states में it is different. तमिलनाडु में स्पोर्ट्स यूनिवर्सिटी भर गई है. मे बी तमिलनाडु का द फैमिली, मे बी द पर कैपिटा इनकम ऑफ तमिलनाडु इज मोर टू द पर कैपिटा इनकम ऑफ बिहार और उत्तर प्रदेश, मे बी. So when we talk about sociology of sports, I talk about pan India. I do not discuss about, maybe इस presentation का limitation होगा ये कि I'm not discussing about a particular state, but when we talk about sociology of sports as a macro view or as a bird's eye view, I see that the political economic situation of a state is very important, but this will not undermine our efforts. The value of the sociology of work is to embark on the problems, and this will be important above all to do of us to awaken and develop our sociological imagination, more of a humanistic approach related to sport, and we can formulate many hypotheses. For example, अभी बहुत सारे एथलीट्स in the past 8 months, can you imagine their social status? Can you imagine the status of the athletes जिनको नेशनल चैंपियनशिप्स में जाने को नहीं मिला? In the Athletics Federation of India, we are not able to draw a calendar for sports for athletes. क्यों? Because government के regulations लगे हुए हैं. So can you think under 17 travels into 18 years, under 20 travels into 21 years. एशियन ट्रैक में जाना था, खत्म हो गया. टोक्यो ओलंपिक 2020, can you develop, can you just understand the mental agony with the athlete had been, whether he is a swimmer or a boxer or with the wrestling federation or with the athlete, whatever you say, and 2020 champion, Tokyo is no more, Olympics is no more, he is underage, he is overage, can you just think? So there are so many things which we have to study. Then the physical culture, for sociology of sports, the physical culture has to be studied, and how this physical culture can transfer into a social basis. It has to be studied. We have to go for different social patterns. The paradigm significance of sports contributions to the development, enforcement of national identity. बहुत सारे sports के interviews होते हैं. You have Tendulkar there, you have KF there, you have Leander Pace over there, you have Mahesh Bhupati over there. When they come, they are the idols for the federations, for the ministries, for our children. And as Wang has said, that the national reputation is one which is a clear indication of the nation's power strength. Right now, एक common आदमी जब कुछ नहीं जानता है, पढ़ा लिखा नहीं होता है, तो वो खेल के बारे में जानता है. कहता है अमेरिका ने इतने मेडल लाए, तो वो जानता है अमेरिका बहुत पावरफुल है. दिस इज द कॉमन मैन. And as Mercer says, it reflects and affects the country's standing in the global arena. If more and more of the Indian youth gets associated with the sports, the more power to the nation. And a broader perception of the significant sport is participation can be ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा participation होना चाहिए. Now, sport participation as exceptional behavior to sports participation as accepted. अब हम gradually shift हो रहे हैं. हमारे यहाँ बहुत सारे कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स हो चुके हैं, हमारे यहाँ बहुत सारे स्पोर्ट्स मैनेजमेंट के कोर्सेज आ चुके हैं. पीपल आर अर्निंग देयर लिवलीहुड इन स्पोर्ट. आप बताइए कितने कोचेज आ चुके हैं. हमारे गवर्नमेंट ने कितने अवार्ड्स दे दिए हैं कि अब कोई एथलीट को डेवलप करेंगे तो उसको कोच को हम 5 साल का पैसा देंगे, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. सो पहले स्पोर्ट पार्टिसिपेशन क्या था, वैसे ऐसे इट वाज एक्सेप्शनल, कोई ना कोई पार्टिसिपेट कर लिया. व्हेन आई से आई राइट टू द गवर्नमेंट दैट it should be made mandatory, means now sport participation should be accepted. जैसे मिलिट्री ट्रेनिंग कुछ कंट्रीज में मैंडेटरी होती है, क्या स्पोर्ट पार्टिसिपेशन को हम नॉर्मेटिव बिहेवियर के लिए एक्सेप्टेड नहीं मान सकते हैं? मे बी गवर्नमेंट ये सब चीजों को डिजाइन कर सकती है अगर हम आप इसमें कोई रिपोर्ट देंगे. एंड टू कंक्लूड, द स्टडी ऑफ द स्पोर्ट्स सोशियोलॉजी इज डिजाइन्ड to get the ball or get set go in the field of sports in the systematic examination of many social movement theories in India. My dear students, researchers, teachers, faculty, whosoever is listening to me, please try to be a part of the sport sociology. References, some references I talked about the media and sport. You have Rao, David and Galmo over here. Then Van Ruzen talk about the International Review for Sociology of Sport. How are the stratification patterns? Then it was a child's you can say admiration, a child's aspiration. Daddy, will I be able to play football for my country? Daniel wrote in 2006. James Paz and Raman, they said that sport, can it turn to social mobility for the disadvantaged sections of our society? Jarvi, as I talked about the social grant. So how can sport bring into social changes? Then Barbara talked about the sociology of sport in Scotland. When I talk about Scotland, I took references for the advanced nations in the area of sport. Then Juan talked about the societal changes. We have Nokolis, who talks about the knowledge of the sports. I talked about the sociology of sports and its knowledge. Stemple and Kauf, they talked about Bourdieu's theory. Then Warren and Jordan, they talked about the sponsorship of youth sports and how can sports be enjoyed at that level. And one thing, I'm sorry I skipped off the mount, that I happen to be the state coordinator of the Kids Athletics Championships in the state of UP, the Athletics Federation of India and the IAAF, International Association for Athletics Federation. They have started a worldwide kids athletics program. So when I say that playing, just enjoy while playing. This was already spoken by Warren and Jordan over there. Then we had G.H. Sage, who talk about the sociology of sport. We had Harvey again, who discussed about social movements in sports. We have Coach and Leonard talking about the socio-economic activities and how come the development of the college sports can be configured with development of the individual. We had Richard Light, who talks about the case studies of a swim club, and he talks about how can clubs add to the social development of the children. I do not talk about the accommodations only. I talk about when I say stakeholders, it talks about everybody. Then we have Geography and Light. They talk about the visual data collection techniques and methods, which when we can talk about the children's personal experiments, and through semi-structured interviews we can go, because I think that as far as the sports research is concerned, we should go for semi-structured interviews, because that gives the respondent much more opportunity to just open with. Naturally, there are many advantages and disadvantages in any particular type of research, but for me, semi-structured is the best form. Then we have McFeely and Morley, who talked about young people's socialization. Coakley talked about the sport and society. Taylor talked about semi-structured interviews. Bourdieu talked about distinction in his book, and he talked about habitus. Then Heinrich talked about what are the socio-cultural dynamics of sport studies, again Bell. Then Blois talked about the policy and development, and he introduced how the government listens to sport researchers and sport makers. Then sport and how can the community developed through sports. Coulter talked again over there, and the wider role of the social role of sport. He studied some underdeveloped areas, and he wrote about this thing. Then Collins talked about examining the developmental agenda. Collins Abel talked about the inclusive policies and exclusive policies. How can sport be both inclusive and exclusive? When I talk about inclusive and exclusive, I talked about sports elite, or those sports such as golf, etc., which are allied games. How can be exclusive? So there are different dimensions. ED talked about the practical development of sports. Then Jones talks about some research methodologies. How can we go? How is the positivity created for youth? Holt talked about, and Julian talked about the sport politics of sport development. Please note, he said he discussed the development of sport or development through sport. For me, maybe I differed with him. He said that the development of sport, whether development of sport is necessary or development through sport is necessary, for me, both are necessary. Unless and until the sport will not develop, nobody can develop, nobody can entirely a development through sport. Then Julian again talked about the student interface in between sports and society. It discussed about the balancing which a student had to do in the society and within his sport aspirations. Jowry talk about the cultures of the society. You have some pages over there. I've been a member of the European Sport Management. This is an association in Denmark. I've been twice to their conferences. It's a good group, very good researching journals they have. In leisure studies, we have this thing, leisure studies at the International Sociological Association. We have the International Sociological Association Research Committee number 13. Since leisure studies are associated somewhat with sports studies, I am presenting and chairing a session in the virtual ISA conference in February 21. Previously, this conference was in Porto Alegre in July 20, but due to COVID, it has been postponed, and it is a virtual conference now in February 21. Sport Education and Society. This is the General Indian Sociological Society website. You go over there, you can find my credentials over there also. You can get the membership details, etc. Everything from there. The Research Committee 25 is the Research Committee 25 on 1 second. The Research Committee 25 is on sociology of sports. Then you have the International Sociological Association. You have the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. And my students, researchers, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen and all, please lend me your ears. कृपया ध्यान से सुने. अभी आपको कोई भी एकेडमिक रिसर्च होती है, ट्रैवल ग्रांट चाहिए, पब्लिकेशन चाहिए, कुछ भी चाहिए आपको, आप अपने कॉलेज पे जाते हो, यू गो टू योर कॉलेज, यू गो टू योर यूनिवर्सिटी, you go to the Indian Council for Social Science Research, you go to the UGC. Please let me pat myself. I have been successful in getting sociology of sports inducted within the scheme of HRD. Now you have another viable platform where you can get grants for publications, grants for holding conferences, even big grants for sports event and sports sociological courses, both in India and abroad. You can get grants for big projects. The ministry has been giving me grants for long, since this scheme came into force. I have been to world conferences in Paraguay, then in Tokyo, then in Paris, then 2016 in Budapest, 17 in Taiwan, 2018 in Switzerland, and Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. It gave me the full grants. So please mind it. This is another viable platform where you can get funds. This is very important. And last, you have the Athletics Federation of India website. I also happen to be the technical official and also happen to be the national technical official of the International Paralympic Committee, having passed the test of Bone 2010. I have officiated in a couple of very good games, including the Commonwealth Games Youth Pune 2008, then Commonwealth Games Delhi 2010. Then we have the National Games, Khelo India, etc., etc. Apart from my role as the director, honorary director of UP Athletics Association. So thank you all very much. I do not know, it was a huge lecture, but please to take due care. And this is all for me. And back to the organizer, you can say, and I'll be just putting my screen down.
Thank you, sir, for your excellent presentation on sociological perception of sports and sociology of sport. The roadmap was really covered under the broad area of this live webinar, Sports for Life. The entire sociological perception of sports was presented well in your presentation, and we could see a lot of evidences-based research is needed in sports sociology. And of course, we would be able to understand from your presentation that the special initiative towards the development of sports sociology throughout India is been carried out by you and your team, and a lot of comparisons were put up as an example of how socially uplift the standards of the Western countries and compared to India, and the small countries, they are doing so good in terms of performance as well as the development. And whereas still when we compare with our Indian country, it is still a big question. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and for sparing a long time with us. Thank you, sir. And let's take few questions from our audience. Sir, a questions has been put up in a chat box.
Person, can I ask one question?
Please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Please, sir.
Sir, it was indeed a very well presentation, informative presentation, sir. We really enjoyed. We learned a lot from you. And we all know that there has been dramatic changes in the demographic, and of course, demographic structure of population across the world. On one side, the birth rate is falling, and the other side, thanks to the advancement of technology and efficient healthcare system, the death rate is also falling. So what will happen, sir, after a couple of decades? You know, there will be huge amount of old population and lesser amount of youth. You know, how will that impact on sports, sir? This is my first question.
Thank you, Professor Prem Kumar ji. Naturally, there have been serious demographic changes, not only in India, but around the globe. And this is started, the persons from the field of economy will concur with me that this process of globalization started way back in 1991, you can say, 1990s, 91, 92, it's like this. And after the process of globalization, the world has squeezed, you can say. See, if in case you go by previous times, you recognize that going to a foreign country was indeed a mark of identity. People used to say, okay, that fellow has flown to US or has flown to China or something like this. But these days, distances have squeezed down. This is number one. Number two, you came to the basic question that the birth rates are falling. And naturally, due to the improved hygienic and health conditions, even the mortality rates have gone down. Okay, so your question is that since mortality rates have fallen down, the world will be witnessing population explosion in the days ahead, in the days to come. How come as a sports fraternity will be able to provide justice or render justice to the fraternity, not only to sociology of sports, not only to sports psychologists, but to anybody. See, my clear understanding of the issue is that we have population control measures now almost all over. Let me talk about in the context of India. I talk about the context of India only. In the other countries of the globe, you see that there is adverse population growth. Means in countries of, for example, when I visited Norway, I was sitting in a bus and I was in Oslo, and I asked that gentleman that what is the population of Oslo. He said that the population of Oslo, it was in 2010, I suppose. He said the population of Oslo is 500,000, 5 lakh only. My point of view is that even if in case we witness population explosion, maybe we do not have the statistical figures. You say that since the birth rate are falling and the mortality is also falling, the population will increase. But see, I am not a political commentator to say what the government will be doing in the days ahead as far as population is concerned. But I am more as a sociologist, I am concerned to capture these demographic changes and utilize them into the more development of various tools of sociology of sports. For me, I cannot comment frankly on what will happen in the days ahead as far as the population is concerned. Because I've not studied sociology of population, but I do see that the population explosion in India, perhaps I've always been an optimistic, population explosion in India will be controlled, I suppose so. So let us hope, we do hope to see some good days ahead. And as a sociologist and as a keen researcher, we have to keep on doing with the new demographic changes and trends which we see in the days to come. Maybe in states you see that there has been a balancing now between the gender population, the per 1,000 males and the per 1,000 females. Maybe after some governmental scheme, you can see the demographic changes. For example, in Haryana, there were huge number of cases of female feticide, you can say. Gradually, we are seeing that the demographic is changing over there, and the population per 1,000 of females is now on the upper part. So these demographic changes for me will always be on, I will always see on a very affirmative note as far as the researcher is concerned. I do not know whether I've been able to add something to your this thing or not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. My second question, sir, for developing sports culture in a society, grassroots level sports development is very, very important. That I can say that is a basic thing. If in the absence of grassroots level sports, I'm sure there will be no sports culture. So, what should we do in the future, sir, to develop grassroots level sports? Because promotion of sports is in the hands of associations and federation. I'm not talking about promotion, but grassroots level sports, because we have enormous potential that is there in the rural area, because we live in rural area. And what we should do to develop grassroots level sports?
This is a very important, thank you, very pertinent question. Charity begins at home. It's a long old saying that charity begins at home. I will tell you a very clear example. I'll personalize this debate and discussion. I have 2 children. My daughter, she is a PhD scholar studying at the University of Milan on a full scholarship. She studies over there. It is her first year. She is exceptional in her studies. She got a scholarship from St. Petersburg University. She was there for 2 years, and now for a year she is in Milan, and she'll be doing her PhD. She is an exceptional student. My son, please note it, His total inclination is towards sports. He is rarely inclined towards studies, and due to his arguments, I had to put him into an football academy in Delhi. Till date, we are fighting for his studies. He says, I will only play football. Now I am coming to the real part of your question. I had to say this thing, I am coming to the real part. You talk that we should develop a sports culture, leave aside these sports federations, the ministries, and these other public-private partnerships, let us leave it. And you say that you have a dearth of talent in our grassroots level, in our rural areas, in our villages, in our semi-urban areas, etc., etc., etc. Agreed. You are from the sports university, sir. You cannot undermine the utility of sports in our lives. But हम में से कितने ऐसे लोग हैं जो अपने बच्चों को स्पोर्ट्स में डालना चाहेंगे? शायद नहीं, शायद नहीं. ये कब ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होगा? जब हम when we see that the children who excel in sports get a proper job with the railways, get a proper job with the customs department, apart from their playing. Please mind it. Now the avenues have multiplied. Times have changed. You have n number of people who are involved. By say 30 years back, one could have not dreamt about a university of a sports university. Why? Because universities were busy in some other work. At the grassroots level, for me, when I said that we have to study the mindset of the parents, we as the doyens of our children should try to encourage children to go out to the playground. Please don't mind whether he or she gives 1 hour, 1.5 hours to any ground sport, not sports with playing with your mobiles. You know why this socialization has stopped? We say, I am 53 plus, 53 and a half. I have played so many of street games, whether it goes for playing flying kites, whether it goes for playing batter ball or cricket in the grounds, whether it goes for playing some traditional indigenous games of the Uttar Pradesh in the grounds, whether it goes for playing marbles in the grounds. Today's children, I'm sorry, they have left everything. They are confined to their rooms. They are confined to their cell phones. So how come the socialization will come? वो घर से बाहर जाएंगे नहीं, वो 4 लोगों से मिलेंगे नहीं, वो किसी दूसरे कास्ट के आदमी से मिलेंगे नहीं, उसके कल्चर के बारे में जानेंगे नहीं. मेरा ये कहना है ग्रास रूट लेवल पे लेट एवरी पेरेंट अपने बच्चों को प्लीज बाहर करिए. एट द एंड ऑफ द डे, एट द वेरी एंड ऑफ द करियर वो कुछ नहीं बनेगा. he will be into a good human being. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Why we say? Just to inculcate the habit of eating some good fruits. यही तो ना बात है कि okay, don't take sugar, take fructose. Sugar मत लो, तुमको डायबिटीज है, फ्रूट्स लो. बच्चों से कहते हैं फ्रूट्स लो. We have to inculcate the habits. Let that boy go out. I have given the recommendations so many times to the ministry. I do not know when they'll listen. Naturally, you have to face bureaucracy also. This is also a day. You have to pray. तो मेरा कहना है कि स्पोर्ट्स कल्चर हमसे शुरू होगा. It will start for me, and the government and the other stakeholders will be bound to take decisions जब उनको लोग मिलेंगे, when they'll find real practitioners. This is my answer. And last but not the least, India government has started. We have Khelo India games now in place. हम ये नहीं कह सकते हैं कि सब चीज all the evils in the sport arena have been eliminated. ऐसा possible नहीं है. कोई आदमी बिल्कुल पक्का अच्छा नहीं बन जाता है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. There will be flaws, but then we are moving ahead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And we have retired professor of sociology, Gandhigram University, a rural university, Professor Rajendran. We are really honored to have you, sir. And can you please ask the question, sir? Dr. Kannadasan, can you please unmute him? And Dr. Rajendran from
Dr. Rajendran, I'm just.
Professor Rajendran, State Professor of Sociology, Gandhigram Rural University.
Gandhigram.
Sorry, Gandhigram Rural Institute. Otherwise, Kannadasan sir, I have sent a question to you. Can you please ask him?
Kannadasan?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just 1 minute. Sir, the work what you have done till now and the efforts whatever you have been, taking up to promote sports sociology, I think it is phenomenal. Because, as Dr. Prem Kumar said, the session was really an eye-opening because we were not aware of it, so much could be done, so much has been done. So unless and until somebody tells us only we get to know, because otherwise we keep hearing about other disciplines. So since you were involved in the policies, all that drafting of the policies and all, and I think, already I wanted to ask how we could, Dr. Prem Kumar has already asked, how we could socially uplift the citizens. I think partly you have said, the grassroots level, वो सब ठीक है. और सर ये हमारे जो बडिंग स्पोर्ट्स सोशियोलॉजिस्ट है उनके लिए क्या मैसेज है सर?
देखिए मैं आपसे एक बात कहना चाहूँगा कि as I said in my presentation that the sociologists basically they were disinclined towards this very legitimate area of study. And let me come to you in very frank terms. Within the sociological fraternity also, there were people who created hurdles and obstacles for me also. Not to be precise and not to come out with clearly who was it and what was it. There were many obstacles. But the issue is that any obstacle is for me a stepping stone. Rather, any obstacle for any person is a stepping stone. When I talk about social upliftment, please understand. In athletics, we have the district athletic championships, and today during these, even in these, you can say challenging times. In these challenging times, we are gearing up our athletes not to go down. In place, when I say that how can we uplift is already there are issues which are in place. But since भारतवर्ष की पॉपुलेशन, द इंडियन पॉपुलेशन इतनी ज्यादा है कि हमको जो भी एफर्ट्स होते हैं, whatever efforts we do are very minimal. There the improvements are there. For example, जैसे मैंने आपसे कहा, through Khelo India Games now we have started picking youth and children from the economically low and middle income groups also. बिकॉज अभी तक क्या था, देखिए आप किसी भी परफॉर्मेंस में जब बच्चा मान लिए ही और शी रन्स 100 meters रेस एंड यू हैव टू वर्क ऑन हिज बॉडी, ही इज रॉ, आप उसको गांव से उठा के ले आए हैं, विलेज से उठा के ले आए, तो अभी क्या होगा कि कोच उसके ऊपर मेहनत करेगा. कोच मेहनत कैसे करेगा? उसकी डाइट बनाएगा. द कोच विल एक्सरसाइज, गो फॉर हिज डाइट, कोच विल गो फॉर सम ऑफ हिज प्रैक्टिसेस. दिस विल इन्वॉल्व अ lot of money, lot of time also. So उधर उसका father जो है is not prepared because he says कि पढ़ लिख जाओ, go for a job in a private company or whatever it is and try to assist me. So how come his aspirations can be taken over? The government of India is doing it a bit, but let us tell the government of India कि we sociologists, we psychologists are doing our bit to ensure that people are interested in the fraternity of sports. I'm not going into sociology of sports only. I'm going into any aspect of sports. So there is no magical stick कि मैं ऐसा उठाऊं जादू को छड़ी और वो सब हो जाए. It will take some time and इसमें हमारा आपका रोल बहुत ज्यादा है. मैं तो सब जगह यही बोल रहा हूँ, मैं तो इंटरनेशनली बोल रहा हूँ, आके बोल रहा हूँ. People will start understanding gradually. And people have already starting social uplifting. देखिए अभी आप देखिए एक कोई टूर्नामेंट होता है, any say name any tournament in India, whether it is an athletic championship or a football tournament or a hockey or a cricket, whatever it is, you see वो कितना generate करता है revenues को, वो income कितना generate करता है, whether it is through media, through commercial advertisements, through कुछ, तो ये सारे sectors कहीं ना कहीं पे लगे हुए हैं. Employment will be generated as sports progresses ahead. तो हमको स्पोर्ट और उनकी प्रैक्टिसेस को ऐड करना है, और ग्रेजुअल इस फेज में वी विल इंश्योर सोशल अपलिफ्टिंग. इकोनॉमिकली वी आर मूविंग फ्रॉम द अहेड फ्रॉम द माल्थुसियन थ्योरी नाउ. सो अभी इकोनॉमिकली हम ठीक हो रहे हैं, हम अंडर डेवलप्ड से डेवलपिंग नेशन की कैटेगरी में जा रहे हैं. आई डू नॉट नो प्राइम मिनिस्टर का जो एम 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी का है, ये हम कोविड ने हमको रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दिया है, वो हम करते हैं भी, कर पाते हैं कि नहीं कर पाते हैं. देयर आर मेनी क्वेश्चंस we can ask the government also कि China had the same set of problems, we have the same set of problems. उसकी भी पॉपुलेशन बहुत थी, मेरी भी पॉपुलेशन बहुत है, वो 17-18 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी का देश बन गया है, हम 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी के लिए झगड़ा कर रहे हैं. But they are a communist nation, we are a democratic nation, जो हम बोल सकते हैं. So not to compare anything, but social uplifting can be done only in this way. We have to do our bit. डॉक्टर शाहीन, मुझे लग रहा है मैं कुछ बता पाया आपको.
हाँ जी सर, जरूर, बढ़िया सर, ठीक है.
राजेंद्रन सर.
Yeah, I'm here, sir. Sir, audible, sir, audible.
Yes, Rajendra sir, you are audible, and namaskar to you, and please convey my regards to Professor Gurusamy also.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
And before you start your question, I thank you for your video on Tamil language.
Oh my God. I'm very happy to
thank you.
Yeah,
please go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. I convey your regards to Dr. Gurusamy, sir. Since you go to village and stay with the village people, I have seen the participation of the non-student youth with the student youth. More of non-student youth in the sports activities. That is really encouraging. And in this connection, I want to know your viewpoint on this.
Okay.
What about your opinion about this participation of non-student youth in the sports activities compared to the student youth?
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Professor Rajendran. If in case you see that not the Tamil Nadu Sports University, you talk about any university, university, it has a sports council. It has a sports council, and through that sports council, you have the board also, which encourages its university students. Or for that sake, if in case it is at the college level, it encourages the college students also. Okay. Now your point is that you envision and see that the non-student youth actors are more active in sports rather than the students who are with the secondary education or the tertiary education.
That's what we observe.
Yes. So my take is that the times are changing now. For example, let me tell you, in the area of athletics, now we see the CBSC, Central Board of Secondary Education clusters now. For the past, you can say 5 to 6 years, the CBSC clusters have started. Now, what is the effort behind starting these clusters? The efforts are only to encourage our college or school students to become invariably a part of the sports. The Athletics Federation of India has started the Kids Athletics program, and we are holding on a regular basis. On each year, we go for 3 or 4 schools through which we request the college school management to give opportunity to the kids to go for these athletics programs. They are not very professional athletic programs. Even the implements are very tiny, and just to incorporate that mindset of playing. There is no prize distribution in the kids athletics program. There is no individual prize. Only the purpose is to foster social cohesion and team spirit. My take on this is that again the role of the academicians will be there. Why not two sports councils can go for small matches, whether they are the football matches or the colleges matches?
Very good, very good.
Why not the state governments can? Education is a state subject. Why cannot the state governments can put some marks in this semester? If a student plays, then he or she can get a particular mark in a semester. Why not during the time of employment can the state government agencies or the central government agencies put a 1 mark or 2 mark as they put if in case you get 65% marks in the post graduation, then you will get 1 mark or 2 marks. Why not put some element of sports over there? So I think the days ahead, I am not a pessimistic. I am always very positive on every situation. I am positive on every situation. अभी मैंने अपने एथलीट्स को इतना समझाया है इतने सेमिनार्स में कि भैया परेशान मत हो. This COVID has brought problems for everybody भैया, each and every sector. ये एपिडेमिक नहीं है, पैंडेमिक है. सबके साथ प्रॉब्लम है. बड़ी इकोनॉमीज नीचे चली गया है. So for me, the intake is that only it is us we will have to do is the government in place is doing it. लेकिन जब हमारे पास रिपोर्ट्स होंगी, रिसर्चेस होंगी, तब हम लोगों को गाइड कर सकते हैं, बता सकते हैं सर.
Right. Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajendran, sir. Thanks for your participation.
Yeah, I am thank you to you for giving me the opportunity to see all of the questions. Yeah, and listen to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And we have one last question from our professor of Department of Physical Education, Dr. S. Tirumale Kumar, sir. Sir, would you like to proceed with your question, sir, please?
Very good afternoon, sir.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar. So my question is the nowadays the juvenile delinquency is increases.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Sir, please proceed with the question, sir.
I think some problem in the connection, I think.
So otherwise, I will just read the question, sir.
Okay.
Sir, Professor Tirumale Kumar has asked a question to be clarified, sir. The question is, what is the role of sports professionals or sports sociologists in reducing juvenile delinquency?
Okay. That's a very pertinent question, you know.
Hello.
Yes, I got your question.
Yes, sir.
I got it. You know, if in case you know or not, I'll tell you that there is a debate going on as far as the age of juvenile is concerned. Do you know that there is a debate already going on in India that the age for the juvenile issues should be gradually reduced?
Yes, sir. The Juvenile Justice Act is going to be revised.
Correct. Now, why is it so? It is so because, you know, if in case, I'll just go a bit away from your question and then come to the answer. If in case you see that during the past 20 years, 25 years or 30 years, you see that the hormones in our children are gradually pacing up. The girl who used to fall into her adolescence after 16, 17, say 18, maybe her menstruation started at a later stage. Now everything is preponed, you can say. Means the hormonal system is going on going on changes, and the same is the situation with the males also. This need has come after so many criminal cases. The need has come that the Juvenile Justice Act is, they are trying to undergo some change. It will be a long process. Let's see. That study apart, that justice, that act apart. Your question is how to stop this juvenile delinquency. You know, diversion is a basic thing. Please note it down very carefully. Can we have more co-educational schools? Number one. You know what is happening is that as a sociologist, I'll tell you, as a human being also, if we are not entitled to get something. See, for example, I'm a diabetic and I'm not allowed to eat sweets. Since I'm not allowed to eat sweets, the urge in me to eat sweets will always be there because I have been kept far from it. Some juveniles, the history of the juveniles, you know, I was going through an article of criminal justification among they criminally justified the deviance activities amongst the juveniles, and that article, I do not know whether it was well researched or not, but perhaps the sample size was good enough, and it was from one of the prisons in Bhopal. That article read, it is not my area of research, but when I went through the article, it said that a set of these juveniles were holded to perform something or to do something. And when they were holded on to perform or do something, whenever they got the opportunity, they did that. Whether it goes for smoking, whether it goes for drinking, or whether it goes for flirting, or whether it goes to advanced steps, which you are saying, or going for more criminal offenses. As sociologist and as psychologist, because you people study the mind, you ought to study the mind of these delinquents, that what is turning off. And you see, the first class starts at home only. It is the duty. क्यों कहा जाता है कि अभिभावक और माता पिता ही सबसे पहला गुरु है? Why is it being said? Because it is we who can follow and give them more traditions and more better culture. It does not mean that giving them a better culture will in totally eliminate this thing. But for me, as a sociologist, I think more involvement in the area of sports and sports studies is well researched. We have very many connection and reports on the issues कि ये हमारे mind के हमारे जो aspect को खोलता है, enlighten करता है, broaden करता है. Exceptions are there. So my personal opinion on this is, which is researched, nothing is personal for me, is that as and when we try to cover the very many social dimensions of sport, we can also cover this social level of delinquency amongst our juveniles. तो इसमें जितना हम sport activities में उनको लगाएंगे, जितना हम उनको physical activities में लगाएंगे, उनका हम mind diversion करेंगे. And mind diversion is a must. Watching movies, going for one set of attractive systems, and then going for crimes. इसमें बहुत सारे actions हो सकते हैं, economical reason हो सकते हैं, social upbringing हो सकती है. That is a different issue. कि किसी के परिवार में जुर्म ही होता है, crime होता है, उसके यहाँ हो रहा है. That's a different issue. But at large, as a sports sociologist, हमको sports को ही बढ़ावा देना है, जिससे हम इसको कुछ हद तक कम कर सकते हैं. This is my take. I hope I am able to answer Professor Thirumalai.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
So nice of you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think we totally agree with this, because sports as a medium, I think, we are able to channelize all our negative emotions through play. That's the best medium, I think.
Correct.
Kanadasan, there is one last question from the student. You have any question from the students?
Ma'am, there are many questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Most of the questions have been addressed in this presentation.
All right.
So So I don't think so. We need to take it up that. And also
one last thing I would like to say, Dr. Kannadasan, you can do one thing. My email ID is also there. If in case any student still wants to put up any question, he or she can email me, or my cell number is there with the department.
All right.
Yes,
So
that
I'm
would be
always
better.
welcome to answer any question.
thank you, sir.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Because one last thing before I sum up and you people sum up is that, learning is a continuous process.
Yes.
I am a student of sociology, I am a student of sport. तो मैं सबसे सीखता हूँ. वो सीखना कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई जान गया है सब कुछ, nobody is a complete. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Professor Sanjay Tiwari, thank you for sharing your extraordinary presentation and experiences with us. Hello.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Over to Kannadasan.
Dear, a humble request to the participants. Yeah, your questions have been noted down. Also, we hope that many of the questions were addressed in his presentation. So still, if anybody would like to ask any questions, Dr. Sanjay Tiwari sir's email ID will be posted.
I am writing in the chat box. I am writing my email ID also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have given.
And kindly make use of his email address and post your questions. Well, he will clarify you very personally.
I have given my email as well as my WhatsApp number. Everything is there in the chat box.
Thank you, sir. So I think we can proceed to the formally to the end of the session. After a very long session from Dr. Sanjay Tiwari sir, it's time for me to wind up this program with a vote of thanks, and with the blessings of the God Almighty, with a great technical support, and the program has come to an end. First, I would like to thank the administrative officers of our university, the Vice Chancellor Madam and Registrar Sir, for being a great support and inspiration for us to organize this program. And next, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. S. Prem Kumar Sir, the Professor and Head Department of Sports Management and Sports Psychology and Sociology, for accepting to welcome the gather and to proceed with this program. Thank you, sir. And next, I would like to thank Professor Dr. V. Mangerkarsi Madam, the webinar convener, and who has arranged the resource person and keeping the department very active in organizing the webinars, and with all our support, the webinar has happened today. Thank you, Madam. And next, I would like to thank Dr. S. Shaheen Ahmed, Dr. Shaheen Ahmed Madam, Professor, Department of Sports Psychology and Sociology, for all her support in conducting the webinars. Thank you, Madam. And Dr. V. Ramesh Kumar Sir and Dr. M. Lakshman Kumar and other faculty members in the university and the departments for providing their support in conducting this live webinars. Thank you all. And the other learned faculty members of other departments and other universities, institutions, for sparing their valuable time with us to conduct this program in a very nice manner. Thank you all. And the participants who made all our webinar so successful. So still we need your support in the upcoming webinar tours. Thank you all. And the technical support rendered by Dr. C. Manoj, Dr. K.B. Srinivasan, a special thanks to them. And all our students, our own students of Tamil Nadu Physical Education and Sports University. Thank you all. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sanjay Tiwari.
Thank you. Jai Hind. Jai Hind. Thank you.
And for the participants, they can stay connected to receive the feedback link and to get the certificate. Also, the feedback links will be posted in the WhatsApp group, and they can fill it up and they can collect their certificates. The WhatsApp, the feedback link will be kept open for another 2 hours to receive their certificates. So now the feedback link has been put up in the Zoom chat box. Please note down and get your certificates. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kannadasan. Thank you, Kannada.
Thank you, Prem, Shahin, Rasan, Lakshman.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Very well done. Very well
Actually,
done.
we support to finish at 12:30, but it's now 1:30 almost.
It's okay. It's worth it.
Okay, Shahin. And thank you. See you all.
Thank you. At the outset, we thank our AC, Dr. Sheila Stephen, for having given us the office of the FPSC in July to conduct this webinar.
Ma'am, shall I end this meeting, ma'am?